Wow, I might be the first person to jump on this story before any weird narratives can pop up about it. Nintendo has released breaking news that they are currently in the process of buying back shares. What this process entails exactly, we're gonna have to figure out, but here we have the notice of determination of matters pertaining to share repurchases and cancellations of treasury shares. Share Nintendo Co., Kyoto, Japan, President and Representative Director Shintaro Furukawa, hereafter the company, hereby announces that the following matters pertaining to the repurchase of its shares pursuant to the provisions of Article 156. So basically, Nintendo's buying back its shares. Okay, they are getting more control from the company, less control to the shareholders, and as a result of that, are kind of establishing themselves as a very unusual company in the entertainment space, where they aren't as beholden to shareholders as most public companies. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand about them, about how Nintendo has more freedom to do whatever they want, and how BlackRock cannot acquire enough shares to overthrow the board or make radical changes. Because what we're seeing is Nintendo is just becoming so successful and so well run that these shareholder establishment, they can't do shit. That's kind of what we're seeing, and it's very interesting that it's happening now after so many stories about the dropping share prices and shareholders are bowing out. What's Nintendo gonna do? Buy it back? The fact that this is something that most people never even thought was a possibility, that Nintendo would buy more of its own shares, is just very, very silly. I actually put forward the possibility a while back that might actually be the end game here for the stock price to drop, so that Nintendo can scoop up more shares at a more affordable price. That seems to be what happened here, which is very, very interesting, because I think this is a very good example, I think, of how the gaming journalism industry is just spurging out and constantly trying to pretend that Nintendo is in a bad position. Because how many times did we hear that the dropping stock price was somehow going to ruin Nintendo or ruin the Switch 2, as if shareholders have the authority or the ability to make decisions at the company. Okay, that's not how this works at all. That's never been how this works. But people seriously thought that the stock price dropping the way it has was going to negatively influence the company in some way. And now we know that not only is that not true, Nintendo's buying back stock, they're releasing statements, and I really do have to wonder if at some point in the future they may buy back all the stock and make themselves private. I don't know if that's a possibility, but that's definitely something I would want to see from them, is just have no shareholders at all, so we don't have to deal with corrupt Westerners or the banks and the like. Because there's definitely some real concerns about how everything else in Japan is going downhill. I was seeing today how the Prime Minister Takaichi released a statement how she's totally going to bring in more immigrants. So that's we'll have to see if that pans out, if that becomes true. But I do think it's very, very interesting to see how Nintendo seems to be playing 4D chess, and how they're so far ahead of the rest of the industry that most people can't even really keep up with them. It's very, very interesting to see this happen. It's very, very interesting to see what this stock price situation resulted in, yeah, this just goes to show you just how little people seem to understand the actual business of running a video game company. These low stock prices just led to Nintendo buying more of its own shares back, which is something that I think a lot of people were not really expecting from them. that they didn't see coming, that they never saw it coming. This was something that was not supposed to happen. Like, the dropping share price was supposed to be a bad thing for Nintendo. And yet here we are with this like major announcement. And I imagine tomorrow morning you're gonna be seeing a lot of seething from the community. Like, because like, Pokemon Fire Red's coming out. Resident Evil 9 is a huge success on Switch 2. I started playing Tales of Berseria tonight. Like, we're officially at the point where next gen is on. Okay, we're past like the post-holiday slow season, and now we're back on to like the Switch 2's first full year on the market, and people are not ready. Okay, people are not ready for the absolute Nintendo domination we're going to encounter this year, and this is only the beginning. This February 27th, 2026 is only the beginning of Nintendo kind of establishing themselves as not only the dominant force in gaming, but the dominant force in entertainment in general. Like, because I don't think people understand what this means. Like, if Nintendo has like complete control over the company and can produce whatever they want, they will not be succumbing to woke culture. They will not be pushing political agendas. They will not be succumbing to the same problems that everyone else in entertainment is facing. Like, what we're seeing from Nintendo now is them successfully beating off like the globalists, beating off like, BlackRock and all these like corporations that are like desperate to have companies like this like push the message, to push the agenda. And it's very, very interesting to see what like how the situation is developing, because like the only thing I was concerned about in like the immediate future was like how much influence companies like BlackRock would have over Nintendo. And with situations like this, we're kind of seeing that like not a whole lot. I do think we are in a position where Nintendo will hypothetically be able to force BlackRock and other companies like it to sell their shares. And they'll have even less influence during these shareholder meetings, not running the actual company. So again, a hostile takeover of Nintendo is completely impossible. Like, there aren't enough shares on the market. Nintendo's in a position where they're constantly purchasing their shares back. The major shareholders that are trying to turn them woke, BlackRock and the like, they're not having very much success at that. Anyway, like, woke culture is dying anyway. So we're essentially in this weird position where Nintendo is establishing itself as probably the entertainment brand that survives the woke globalist onslaught. Like, this is going to be the brand that stood its ground, that stayed pure, that like kept building while like literally everything else, like Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, like just completely fell apart. Like, again, Nintendo has not had those problems, and I think a lot of people haven't really processed what that means.